On behalf of myself, I'm Lynn Lacey. This is Pam, Charlotte, and Sakia. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to talk about something we're super passionate about, which is holistic health in our community. So, we took a look at what we cared about, and we thought that it didn't matter what age you were, but you deserve to have full support and healthy and happy lifespan, whatever stage that you were in. We sort of surveyed our community, our local community, real quick. We were at Maywood, Oak Park, River Forest, and Chicago. And what we found was there are lots of available resources to find out how to live healthier, how to live happier, how to live longer. I'm sure we could find some stuff on YouTube around this. But there was a ton, even how to recover, from a physical illness. But the sad truth is, we're all gonna die. It's a serious topic, but I'm trying to make it funny after they did such a good job. We're all gonna die, and it doesn't matter how healthy you live, it doesn't matter how much time you put into your vegan lifestyle or your whatever it is you're doing, your CrossFit, Carrie, you're gonna die. And we're gonna watch our community members die. We're all gonna experience grief and loss. The truth is that grief and loss is universal. We're all gonna experience it. And ironically, it's funny that we have a really hard time in our community talking about the impact of death, right? We want to normalize it. You have 4 people up here who are dedicated to normalizing it, the same way we talk about bullying. Remember when that wasn't popular? Recycling, environmental concerns. We need a program that it makes it normal, especially for our kids, the way that we do everything else so great here in Oak Park. Guess what? Oak Park in this area has tons of resources. We have Mann School District that actually just recently enacted a grief and loss program, mostly around divorce though. They didn't want to talk about death too much. The township has a community mental health board. We have a social worker at the library. We have Thrive. Not many people have mental health counseling in their community. We have one with psychiatric counseling and support groups. They actually have a grief and loss group on Wednesdays if anybody needs to know that. NAMI has non-therapeutic resources. And we have 2 universities. Concordia does clinical mental health, and Dominican, as you know, does social work and everything else they're doing. So we have the resources, guys. What we don't have is a comprehensive programming. We don't have anything around grief or loss for kids, the same way we have for bullying, for kindness, for recycling, for gardening. Everybody has a garden plot, but we don't have anything about grief and wellness. And we want to sell this to you today. And the next thing we'd like to do is have Pam tell you a little bit more about a personal story to give you some more information.
Outside of home, our youth spend most of their day at school. The Grief and Loss Initiative really hits home with me because my son Kendall's father passed in February 2009, months right after his 17th birthday. It makes me wonder if Oak Park had a comprehensive grief and loss program when Kendall was in elementary school, if his challenges would have been minimized. He would not only had the resources and learned how to deal with grief, but he would also had a community of classmates to support him. My family tried to get Kendall help, but he was not interested, and the therapist only wanted to see people who wanted to be there. One of his high school counselors came highly recommended, but he didn't see her either. He would say he was not crazy and did not need to see anyone. The negative stigma was already embedded in him. We could not encourage Kendall to move forward at that time. Kendall fell into most of these statistics. He could not focus and his grades suffered because of that. After graduating OPRF 3 months after losing his dad, Kendall began his first year of college and completed his first year unsuccessful. Kendall then tried working, which was going well. After 6 to 7 months at a temp agency, he did not miss a day of work. Unfortunately for Kendall, it was close to his dad's death of 2-year anniversary when he was hired full time. So the week of that anniversary, Kendall called in 2 days and was immediately terminated. All is not lost for Kendall. In 2016, 7 years later, he started seeking therapy. And in 2017, he registered for school. Working a full-time job, Kendall earned an A in 80% of his classes and no grades lower than a B. To my amazement, a Biomedical Central research article that combined 20 years of studies on students losing parents between the ages of birth and 18 concluded relatively brief interventions may help prevent children from developing more severe problems such as mental health issues and traumatic grief after the loss of a parent. I would like to go back to relatively brief interventions because that's something anyone in this room can do. We could give a pound, a handshake, a hug, or just an ear to listen. Oak Park is an internationally known community and known for lots of firsts. We have been doing a disservice to our community by not providing this comprehensive support for grief and loss to our youth. There are many grief and loss programs in the Chicagoland area, and now we are going to get on top of this for Oak Park, River Forest, and the surrounding communities as well. One last stat that I would like to share. 69% of teachers have at least one student in their class with the death of a loved one. This stat does not include divorce, friendship, relationship losses, changing schools, or not making a team, which all can be negative on children. This means when we implement this program, the Oak Park River Forest High School community will have about 2,700 classmates empowered and ready to support their fellow classmates. That's a lot of support, so let's give our youth the tools they need to use. With that said, Charlotte is going to share conversation about what's going on today.
So we looked at the current conversation about grief and loss. And what we found is that England's Prince William and Henry created the Heads Together Foundation. Heads Together is a mental health initiative which combines a campaign to tackle stigma and change the conversation of mental health with fundraising for a series of innovative new health services. It makes us wonder if their lived experience of the tragic loss of their mother inspired them, and if sharing their experience helps them to build resiliency. Heads Together recently announced a new partnership with Oprah Winfrey to produce a multi-part series for Apple which talks about mental health, which is set to be released in 2020. Nationally, Lady Gaga recently funded a pilot program with 8 schools to provide mental health first aid to students and teachers. Lady Gaga's Born This Way Foundation donated funds and it is being run by the National Council for Behavioral Health. This program teaches kids the signs of mental illness, similar to the way CPR classes prepare us for a physical health emergency. We also looked at some national statistics. 50% of all chronic mental illnesses begin by the age of 14, and 75% by the age of 24. This is according to the National Alliance of Mental Illness. Adolescent deaths by suicide in the United States are up by 25% since 1999. These numbers clearly point to a crisis. Statewide, 20% of the children in Illinois have a mental health condition before graduating from high school, and only half of them will receive the treatment that they need. In our state, we have 1 mental health care provider for every 1,800 youth who need services. There is a great need for support that could be filled by members in our community who are trained and want to help. Some other recent surveys provided the following information. The Born This Way Foundation ran a research study with 2,000 children and found the students are looking for tools to deal with mental health issues. They want programs and they want to learn coping skills. They want to help their friends. We need to do a better job of giving them these tools. Locally, the Oak Park Park District surveyed kids about mental health and found that OPRF high school students would like to be able to walk into a community center to access services instead of a counselor's office. Some communities have created volunteer caring circles. These youth-nominated support teams, as the original study called them, were made up of family members, coaches, teachers, youth group leaders, and other adults who were handpicked by the kids themselves. For 3 months following each teen's crisis, these 656 caring adults conducted weekly telephone support and were trained by professional staff to address their questions and concerns and to help them feel more comfortable in their role with the teens. We believe in a twofold solution that aims to normalize the grief process, give language to it, and to educate people about what they can do to support themselves and others. Part one is to normalize grief and loss and to teach adolescents skills. It is at this age that they are also taught social life skills like recycling and kindness and anti-bullying. We could teach grief and loss coping skills too. Part two is to normalize after the crisis. Support the vulnerable kids who've recently lost a loved one with a community of caring support.
So I know that you're wondering, what are the next steps? So we want to invite the community to listen in, because this will be a great opportunity for you. Today I'll discuss the who, the what, the where, the when, and the how. Who is in the community that can show their support? We'll first start off with the support workers. If you are a trained clinician and would like to come and volunteer your time, we would love to have you as a part of our team. We would ask in the audience if there are any volunteers. Just know that you don't have to be a professional. You can be a regular individual working every day, wanting to help and volunteer at the schools or in your community. We would also like to partner with NAMI and Thrive, which are already existing organizations that provide services to the community. And it could be someone that you know. You might be sitting in your chairs now thinking of that one person. It could be a neighbor. It could be one of your child's school staff members. But ultimately, you might be looking at everyone else, and that person might just be you. So just think about it. What can we do, and where can we support? All we need you to do is to dedicate your time and your support to help impact our children and our families. One of the other criteria is for you to have a big heart, one that has a willingness to serve in various communities. We would like to also target particular schools and community agencies to help with completing surveys. This way, we will be able to identify which child would need the services most. Next, we'll be able to develop a system to monitor the grief and also to be able to offer these services inside of the schools and our communities. How and when can we support? We plan to have one-on-one matching services, which simply means, for an example, if we have a parent that has lost a child, we will match that person up with the child who has lost a parent to make a better connection. We will offer team building activities, individual activities, and most importantly, we will have check-in caring circles for everyone who participate in our learning community. So the question is, are you ready? Are you ready to help us to serve our community? If this presentation has inspired you, please meet with one of us after this event and we will provide the next steps. Thank you for your attention to this matter of life and death.